Hey, and welcome to another episode of Behind the Spotlight, coming to you straight from my co-working space today. So we have a little different atmosphere. But today we have Jessica Stansberry on, again, another friend of mine who I just adore and have learned everything about YouTube. Here she comes. It's just also like, but she helps content creators and entrepreneurs use content to start and grow and scale their businesses. There she is.
Oh,
Hi, honey. How are
I'm
you?
good. How are you?
But I'm just reading your bio, how you help creators and entrepreneurs use content to grow, scale, and start their businesses. I love it.
Yes.
I love it. I really appreciate because I do the same thing. And from the PR side, it's right. How are you going to grow and scale this brand and this business? But first off the bat, I always like to talk to my friends when they come on about what they're working on, what they're offering. And I know you have this new Digit project that you're working on. That's
Yeah, so I offer a course called Digi Product School. It's fairly new in my course suite, and it teaches digital products. So one of the big things I think that entrepreneurs and creators can capitalize on is digital products. Like most people are not making the money they could make there. And so this course teaches you how to do that, like how to create them, how to figure out which one is the right one for you, all the things.
Yeah, all the things, because I think that some people, people look at digital products, they're like as passive products.
Yeah.
It's in your passive, your passive lane, but it's not a passive product. You have to still sell it. You still need to work on it, right? It still needs to be out there. What do you think the biggest mistakes people make when they're coming to create and trying to sell their digital product?
So I think that thinking that they can just create it and pop it up on the internet and it'll sell. Number one mistake, which I think we make that mistake with everything, right? Like people are making that mistake with courses or with digital products or with like a service, they think that as soon as they create it, somebody's going to buy it. And back in 2010, 2012, they probably would have
Yeah.
because there wasn't a market. But now you can't do that. And so a lot of times I'll see people come into my videos when I talk about digital products and they'll be like, oh, well, I just want to pop it up on Etsy and make passive income and live at the beach. And I'm like, that's just not how it
Me
works.
too.
Yeah.
That would be, but
Sure, you can do that, but there's a lot of work that goes into that.
exactly. Well, you don't live at the beach. I love that you live in nature.
Yes.
With animals. I know you talked about it a little bit, but like, is that how you? I was just wondering, is that how you grew up, or is that like a hubby
Yeah.
thing?
So I grew up in the same county, but I did not grow up with any animals except for dogs. Like nothing. There were some cows in a field of a
Right.
neighbor, when I grew up. So, but I was very I grew up in the same county, so it was very normal to see that. But yeah, my husband grew up farming. Like his whole family has been farmers since forever,
Yeah.
and
I
forever and ever, amen. So, yeah, that's how we landed on a farm.
I love watching the farm, but I also love how you use the content of like just your everyday for your audience to get to know you and to sell your products. I think that's really hard for a lot of people.
Hmm.
Maybe you can give us some advice on how we could be doing it too.
Yeah, I think to just realize that people want to see it. Like people want to see that. People want to see your everyday. You probably think it's boring, but everybody else wants to see it. They want to know who they're buying from. They want to know who they're watching. They want to know who they're following. They want to know all the things. And so if you share those behind the scenes things, even though they're seemingly not related to your business, right? They are because they're you. Like you're the business, you're the brand, and they're a piece of you. And so if you're showing that, I promise you people actually want to see it. When a lot of people don't think that they do, but they do. Like my most engaged content is never business content,
No,
ever.
no, it's like making coffee, falling down the stairs, hanging
Yeah.
out with kids.
Yes.
You talk about high school. I know it's a difficult sore spot.
Yeah. Uh, Listen, Linda, I don't even want to talk about high
We're
school.
not
Okay.
talking about high school. No, but I mentioned high school because I find myself saying this to people a lot in the content arena. Like it kind of like is high school, right? You're like, this is what I'm about. This is who I am. You want to come into my classroom? You want to come into hang out after school?
Yes.
I think wrapped up in like we need to be business leaders where we're all just actually like, especially in the PR space, like we're trying to make friends.
Yeah. Yeah. And we're just people. We're just people. Like we're not always in business mode. Like I'm running kids to a sporting event most hours of the day. Like I just, depending on the season.
Yes.
Or I'm sitting outside at a sporting event, or I'm like driving 3 hours to the airport, or I'm letting my dog outside so he can chase the neighbor's chickens off the yard because they don't belong here. Yeah. And so like
The other stuff.
yes, and those are all things that make me me. Like I'm not just business, right? Like I've got hobbies and I've got interests and I've got like the life that I live and I have kids and I have all the things. So yeah.
Well, I think it's really important to talk about those things and talk about business, because I think people look at somebody like you who's successful and they're like, well, she has it all figured out and she's got balance. Like I hate that word, right?
No.
That's like, but I think people forget that you've been doing this a long time.
I have. I just said in a video the other day that I felt like a grandma in the industry, not really by age, but by like time I've been here. Because I mean, I have been in the online space since like I've been in the business space since like 2010, mm-hmm. and really came into the online space in the capacity that we're like doing it now.
Right.
In 2015. That's almost 10 years. I mean, it's been a minute. So yeah, I've been doing it a while.
Right. Well, that not only gives you the expertise in what you do, but it's also the expertise in how you're marketing your product and how you're understanding what your audience needs and why your products are so successful, because the trust that we put into you.
Yes.
Right. That I know because I bought your products, I know when I buy your product, I'm having something that's really solid and it's not just trying to get me to buy something else.
Right. And I think, I mean, that's a lot of our marketing too, is so many people think that they can do like this like skeezy marketing and then get people in a program that's like not very good. And then people start to dip out and they won't buy from you anymore. And your best like customer is the person who's bought from you before. And so if you can't keep them, then you can't keep nobody,
Yeah, no, I definitely know. I've been having this conversation on a lot of my interviews, how we're going towards this more authentic, real life, and a trajectory of like where people want to see us and where people want to actually know us, right? It's not about being a celebrity. It's about sharing your genius and sharing your wealth. Like I'm in my co-working space today and I'm like, I'll tell you and everyone else watching, like I thought I was invited to like answer questions, like be part of a Q&A, but I was actually invited to speak. So thank God.
Oops.
I think it was probably me being too busy, not paying full attention, but it's like, that's my real life. Yeah. That's really, am I going to talk? And we talked a lot about failures, and I think something that you talk about too. You're like, it's okay to not be okay.
Yeah.
And it's okay to pivot.
Oh my gosh. Yes. So many. Well, I think we have two camps and you have to find the fine balance in between both of them, because you can definitely pivot and change too much and kind of like pivot yourself out of a business. But you also can be afraid to pivot and stay in a business that you hate or that is not right for you or whatever the scenario is. And I am not afraid to pivot. Like that is something that I talk about a lot because I've done it a lot. When you've been in the industry as long as I have, inevitably you're going to pivot. And especially in my early years, I pivoted all the time. I was like, oh, today I'm going to talk about this and tomorrow I'm going to talk about that. And it was probably too much, but at the same time, it got me where I am. And it got me to the point where I could do like process of elimination. Like, oh, I don't love talking about that, or I don't love doing that thing, or I do love talking about that or doing that thing. And so that helped me get to the point where I like know what I want to talk about and whatever. And somebody in the chat just said it keeps you relevant. Yes. Okay, so I was just talking, do you know Kathy Olson? She's one of the co-founders of FG Funnels. Yeah. So I was talking to Kathy in an Uber like last weekend at Social Media Marketing World. And she and I have known each other since like 2015, maybe early 2016. Mm-hmm. And we were talking about like, when you do feel like a grandma in the industry because you've been in it so long, like how do you stay relevant, like, because it's really cool to be the novelty. It's really cool to be the new person on the scene and like, everybody knows you because you're brand new and blah, blah, blah. But like, what happens when you've been there a while? And exactly, like pivoting and changing and being the newest version of yourself and your business and how you help people helps keep you relevant, because business doesn't stay the same. Social media doesn't stay the same. Press doesn't stay the same, right? So like being whatever that looks like at whatever time it needs to be done.
Right. And bringing your audience along for the ride.
Mm-hmm.
Like, 10 years, I started my first online business in 2007, right? And I was doing food until 2015.
Yeah.
And I was a star firm until last year, right?
Yeah.
But I keep pivoting because not only am I learning more about me, but I'm learning more about the people that I want to serve, and especially with the PR, doing placement versus teaching you how to do PR and get revenue. Mm-hmm. It was about, I'm not teaching you how to do anything for yourself.
Yeah.
I'm doing stuff. And for me, that just wasn't enough. It wasn't like I didn't feel like I could grow with that and the kind of business and the kind of people that I want to work with. And I know you really dive into your clients. Mm-hmm. You really, and that's why we're friends.
Yeah.
Because you actually care about your.
I totally do. Yeah.
I think people are afraid to like to take something that's successful and move away from it because it's not serving who you are and what you want to do. And I think that, YouTube and the digital products gives you that access to test to see where you want to go to next.
Absolutely. And, I had someone one time, I bring up this story a lot because like, it makes me want to but anyway, I had someone one time tell me like I had to reach out to this person because they were being mean to me. Like they were talking about me to people. Yeah. And I reached out because I wanted to squash it. Yeah. Because I'm like not that person. Right. So I reached out and I'm like, hey, this is dumb. We're adults. And like, what are we doing? And her like rebuttal, like her thing that she was attacking me was like, you pivot and change too much. Like nobody can take you serious. Blah, 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 blah. Well, as I told her then, and like the thing that I've always stuck with, I only pivot when my audience tells me to pivot. Like my audience is the one who's like, we want to learn about YouTube. We want to learn about digital products. We want to learn about courses. We want to learn about these things. And now I'm better at kind of bundling up the categories that I know my audience wants to learn about, and the method in which they learn it might be different. Like this year it might be digital products and next year it might be AI. I don't know. But the overall messaging for me, I'm better at now than I used to be, as far as like, I want to teach people how to create passive income, sales on automation, and to have fun with it. Right. And so I can bundle it all into that, but like my audience is going to take me where it needs to go.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I think that's so interesting for the people who are new or listening to us, because I know some of the names that are coming up. I know their question is like, how are you getting the feedback? Because I think a lot of times people are afraid to get feedback, or they don't even want to ask for it. And I know you're a giant at that.
Yes. So first of all, my DMs are always open. Like it is me in my DMs, and I think a lot of people like don't do that, or like they put automation in there and all the things, and I am always open in my DMs. And so if someone comes in and is like, hey, I'd love to hear a podcast episode about X or whatever, then I take that as feedback. Like, okay, this is something my audience wants to learn.
Right.
Or I do polls a lot. I do polls a lot on Instagram, and I also do polls a lot on YouTube. And so I will poll people. Yeah, so like on YouTube, you have like a community tab.
Right.
So it's kind of like a social feed for YouTube. And I will do polls there, like, hey, where are you at? What do you need to know? Blah, blah, blah. But also, YouTube people, they're not afraid to tell you when they don't like something. Nope, not one little bit.
Are not afraid to comment about how anything that's happening on the screen.
No, they're like, I don't like you today. Peace out. I'm like, oh, awesome. Thanks for that. Appreciate it. So I just kind of, some feedback is not worth taking, right? But when your audience are the people who are going to buy from you, you have to be able to take that into consideration, because they are telling you what they want, what they need, what they, want to pay you for.
100%. But I want to, let's highlight, like, I'm also answering my own DMs. And I think a lot of people just try to push social media off to somebody else.
Yeah.
I hate it. I want somebody else to do it. But I die a little bit inside when I hear that. The question is always like, how are you going to build your business without using social media. Do you hear that from your audience too? That they're like, I know I have to do it, but I hate it.
Yes, for sure. Like I hear a lot of people like, oh, I know I have to create content somewhere, because that's always my message. Like, you got to create content somewhere. I don't care where you do it, but you got to create it somewhere. And then people are like, I don't want to be on camera. I don't want to do this. I don't want to do that. But they have a desired business that's going to require that. And I'm like, then you need a different business. Like, I don't know what to tell you, you know? But yes, like yeah. And like, I don't know how you have to keep an open line of communication to your audience, or they're going to feel so disconnected that you feel like you're up here and they feel like they're down here, and you don't want that, you know? And there are certain things like Instagram I use as the way to get in touch with me, as the way to like communicate with me, that kind of thing. YouTube, I do have somebody in there answering those comments, because it is not something I need to be doing. Because again, like, you know, most of them are nice, and then there's somebody who's like, your face is ugly. And so like, don't I don't need to be in that dumpster fire, you know what I mean? So yeah.
No, like I've stopped scrolling because because I'm not a teenage girl, but I'm scrolling through and the hooks are good and they're in my head. You know, I don't have the right coach. I don't have the right marketing. My message sucks. I need to redo everything. And I was like, wait a minute. No.
Yeah.
Everything's working. Stop thinking about it. So, I'm trying to protect myself. I've gotten those kind of, when I was on Dr. Oz years and years ago, I used to get like, you should die DMs.
Wait.
Oh yeah. You should. Oh
yeah.
You're ugly. You're fat. You're this and you're that. And I used to just post them.
That's what I do usually.
Post them up because people take it so to heart, right? And I'm always like, if somebody needs to comment negatively about you, that's about them and not about you.
Yes.
But I think people use, I don't want to put myself out there, but I'm with you. If you don't want to put yourself out there and be on camera, then I don't know what kind of business you're going to have, because I have seen people posting about how to have a non-camera business. And I'm like, I didn't look into it because I'm like, that doesn't make sense to me. There's no heart to that. People just we talked about at the beginning, they really want to know what you're about, what you have for breakfast, if you drink coffee or not. They really want to have that kind of content. And like you said, I think that content even sells better than, when I'm like 5 ways to get your podcast host to open your email.
Yeah. Totally. And like, I will share like the ugly comments too. I share them all the time. And my method behind it is that there are so many people who follow me who are terrified to get on the internet because they're worried about these things.
Yeah.
And so the message here is like, it's going to happen. I'm not going to sugarcoat it. Yeah, it's going to happen. I can't tell you it won't, but like, here's how I deal with it. Right. And you're right. I mean, what they say about you says more about them than it says about you is like absolutely 100% true. And I always like to think, this is some loser in his like mom's basement. I'm okay if that's what you chose to do with your time today.
Yeah, it makes no sense. I also feel like you're making somebody feel something enough that they're reacting. So the people who should be listening, right, your audience, your prospective clients, your cold and warm leads, you are making them feel something. Like when I know you get them too. When I get those DMs, like, you should really be in Forbes and Entrepreneur and PR Mogul and and I'm like, I'm like, well, at least I'm on the list. At least you recognize that I'm a big business and that but you're not looking at my business, so I don't know how you're qualifying me. But all that stuff is you are being noticed, means you're doing something right. We always try to turn it into block them.
Yes.
Kristen.
Yeah. Now it's funny because like blocking on YouTube is very hard. Like you can, it's not as easy as you think it is. You can't actually block people from watching your videos. You can block them. What's funny to me, and is my favorite thing to do because like, that they're going to continue commenting garbage, is that you can like restrict them in your comments. So they can still make the comment. And when they go like look at the comments, they see it, but nobody else sees it.
That's good. I love, you have the best videos. When you have all those things that happen on your videos, I love them. It would be one of those big tip. Remember this tip, because it's huge.
Yeah.
To be able to do that. I sometimes get people in here trying to get onto the call.
Yeah.
And I was like, really, why are you trying to do that? It makes no sense.
I know.
For me, it makes no sense to do that. But I appreciate I appreciate you sharing that, because I think people are scared of that, and maybe we've taken away some of the weight of putting yourself out there, and the scariness that people are going to comment. I think sometimes it's the strangers are tougher, right, than the people who love you, right?
Right.
My mom's always like, so interesting, and I'm like, okay, I'm going to take that as a positive thing.
Right.
It works that way. Well, I won the. Sorry, I've been talking this morning. Like, I did that speech this morning, and I talked for 40 minutes, and now I can't talk. I would love your future casting. Like, what do you see coming for you and for the industry for 2024?
So for me, I'm really like doubling down on what my offers are and how we get people there, like my funnels and all the things, because I feel like that's something I backed off of the last couple of years. I I don't know. I've not been like highly motivated the last few years, and I am now. And so it's like getting that kind of back on track, But as far as for the obviously, I wouldn't be talking about them, right? And I think there are things that a lot of people are leaving on the table, but two, I think obviously like AI and how we incorporate that in and how we use that as an assistant or as a helper in a lot of ways. I think so many people are talking about like, hey, how AI is going to replace you and da da da. There's industries it might replace. For most of us, it's not going to replace us because you can't replace this. You can't replace that. Like it's, yes. But I'm irreplaceable, right? I am not someone who can be copied. And so it's not going to replace us, but we are going to be left behind if we don't like lean into it and say, okay, how can I use this? I learned at Social Media Marketing World, that was the overarching theme was AI. And I'm not a big session person at conferences. Like I just mingle, but I did like listen in a few times here and there. And the big things that I learned were all like these really cool things I didn't even know you could do with certain AI structures. And I feel like I've been pretty tapped in, and this was like stuff I hadn't even heard of. So I think just embracing that and like figuring out how you can like make it work with you to help you and to help your customers and to help your audience is always a good idea.
Yeah, no, I'm with you. So I've been on my program, the Fame Lab, is coming in again next month, but I am working on an AI product on how to use AI to help you write pitches, because that's the hardest part that my clients have, is doing that. And I found all the offline. I want to hear about all these amazing platforms that you heard about. So I've been using a lot of them, but I bet you can too. I can see when somebody's writing their captions with AI and it's not them.
Totally. And exactly. And it's like, again, it can't replace us, guys, or it shouldn't replace us. Let's put it that way. So we should use it as like a starting point. I tell people all the time, the biggest way I use AI right now is to get me out of a rut in some way. Like, oh, I don't know what to type on Instagram, or I don't know what to do videos about or whatever. And I have it like help me get out of that rut. But that doesn't mean I like literally copy and paste. I'm like, oh, good idea. Let me go down that path.
Yeah, no, I'm with you. I like to do like, give me 20 ideas in this theme.
Yeah.
Or I've been using it for transcripts and summarize it, and then I can send it to my client, and it's better. They can better understand.
Yes.
Transcript.
Yeah.
Right. Just that kind of stuff. And I always say it can't take our jobs, because you need what's in our brain to help you run your business.
Right.
Right. Whatever kind of business.
Totally. And one of the things that I learned that I hadn't played with and I think is so cool is with ChatGPT, to like train it. You can create your own ChatGPT assistant, right? Like outside of which I knew you could, but I didn't know its capabilities. So like you can tell it that you only want it to source information from what you give it, not the internet. And so then you can feed in, like for you, for instance, like here's 12 emails that were successfully answered with like a yes, right. I'm going to give you these 12 emails. I'm going to give you these like social media posts, like whatever to learn from. And then when you need it, you can say, hey, write me an email to pitch X, Y, or Z about X, Y, or Z story. And all it has to learn from is what you've given it. So it's going to write in your tone with the same things. And like that one, I was like, what?
Yeah. That's right? Because sometimes I'll do it and I'll come up with information. I'm like, that's not right, or that's not how I think. So I just put more information in there. I'm going to try that, that prompt.
Yes.
I appreciate that. That was great. Yeah, no, I saw a lot of people going to that conference. And I know you were there, and you were sharing your wonderful information on what you do. I think that's such a big important part of my business. I know it is yours, is that community.
Yes.
I know that you have such a great community of audience for yourself. Was that intentional, or is that something that really just became a byproduct because you are so friendly and so open and so warm?
My audience, is that what you're asking?
Yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. I think it's both. Yeah. I mean, of course it was intentional, like, oh, I need to build an audience to sell my things.
Yeah.
Right. But I do think I have an approachable face.
You do.
And so my husband has resting bitch face. It's bad. Okay, like real bad. Real bad. Like my son's friends are afraid of him. Like and he's like the friendliest person ever. But like you wouldn't tell it based on this.
Right.
And I have learned through the years that I have an approachable face. I was walking through Costco the other day, and it was Super Bowl Sunday, and I was overwhelmed because there was way too many people in there, and I've never been to Costco before, okay? This is my virgin Costco experience. Yeah, bad day to go. It was just a bad day. So I'm walking through with my buggy, and I feel overwhelmed, and this guy just stops me. I'm wearing a Chiefs shirt because I was cheering for the Chiefs. And he stops me, and I'm like, what in the world? And he's like, I don't like the Chiefs. And we had a whole conversation, and he would not have done that if I didn't have an approachable face, right? Like, but I do think my personality like really draws people in.
Yes.
But I think all of our personalities do. I don't think that's like, just me. I don't think that's just something I have the ability to do. I think it's that I'm really real. A comment that I get all the time is, you're the same person in real life as you are on the internet. How would I be somebody else? I don't know how to be somebody else. And so I think because I'm real, and I think if we all figure out how to be real, whatever real is to us, then that audience just like naturally gravitates.
Yeah, it's natural to you, but I know it's not natural to a lot of people that are watching, right? It's themselves. I actually was on the phone with a friend of mine last night, and I was like, can I ask you like a really vulnerable question? She's like, of course. And I was like, how do I show up? Like, how do you see my brand from the outside? And I think it's a question that we don't always ask. And I was like, okay, she gave, you're you, like, stop worrying about it. But I think it's something in this industry for a long time that we, maybe we weren't us. I know I wasn't. I know I used to do videos. I'd be like, well, hi, it's Beth Knighting from Jersey. Like, I had this news anchor voice. My dad would be like, what are you doing? I'm like, don't ask me questions.
Yes.
Right? It took me a while to get to that, and being comfortable on camera, because you are so comfortable doing this.
Yes. But think about how many videos I've done though. Of course, like if I can't fake it that long. No. I have done hundreds of thousands and thousands of videos. Right. Yeah. And so like it just eventually I got to the point where I was just me. And it's funny because I was the same way in the beginning. Go watch my old videos. Really don't, because they're terrible. But if you did, if one did do that, it's the same thing. It's like news anchor Jessica, and I don't know where I came from. I wasn't a news anchor, so I don't know what that is. And I was like, hi, welcome to my channel. And I tried to suppress my accent and, just a lot of different things. And eventually, like, you can't do that. You can't do that very long. So it just kind of came naturally. Plus, my entire life, like when you grow up in the South and you sound like cornbread, your teachers and things will tell you, like, and movies and the media kind of always depict like the Southern people as stupid, right? Like always. And I was in college one time in a broadcasting class, and the professor walked in and was like, if any of you ever want to make a living with your voice or your face, you better lose your accent. And I remember being like, screw you, dude. But I definitely tried to suppress it in the beginning of my business, and I was definitely scared of it. I was afraid people would think I was stupid. But do you know what the number one thing people remember about me is? My accent. Yeah. And so Yeah, because it's me, and I lean into it, and it's fine.
Well, I hope we're giving permission to the people watching, and we have a nice amount of people watching. Thank you, everyone, for showing up today for Jessica and I. Like, it's okay to just be yourself, and it's okay to just go out there and have real conversations and share what's really going on in your life. I think the more that we all share our wins, but actually our losses and the things that don't go well and the things that aren't working, as well as the things that are, the people that are trying to come up, we're going to give them life. We're going to give them fire so that they can be able to do that too. Because I'm so lucky that I can do this. I'm so grateful that I have the power to be able to do this and run a business where I can do whatever I want, talk to whomever I want. I know you don't know this, Jessica, but actually today's my birthday.
Oh, happy birthday!
I appreciate it. And my mom was like, well, what are you doing for your birthday? I'm like, well, I'm going to get to talk to one of my friends live on my Instagram. And then I'm having lunch with other friends. Like, this is what I want to do, right, on my birthday. And I want to share my birthday. And thank you for everyone who's sent me some birthday messages. I appreciate it so much. But I feel at this point in my life so lucky that I was able to create something like this, and that I was able to meet people like you that just want to be ourselves, just want to help people get out of wherever they are so they can up level their life and have the same kind of trajectory that we are. So I'm so grateful for our friendship. I know I met you like years and years and years ago, and when I reached out, you were so lovely, and now we get to be friends, which is, and everyone's saying happy birthday. Thank you, everybody. I appreciate it.
Hey, do you want me to blow your mind?
Yes.
My birthday's Saturday. So we have close birthdays. Yes.
I know I like it. I'm putting your calendar to DM Jessica on Saturday. My calendar. Before I let you go, Jess, would you give us just a couple words of wisdom for anyone out there that's just trying to create content that's going to transform their life with sales and with having an online digital business?
Yeah, I'd say my biggest piece of advice is consistency breeds legitimacy. Couldn't say that word for a second.
Yeah.
Being consistent. The people who are consistent will win every time. And so what I see so much, no matter the platform, Instagram, TikTok, YouTube, podcasting, like whatever it is people will be like, I want to start this thing. And then like a month in, they fall off. And 6 weeks in, they fall off. And they start back up and they fall off. And I can promise you, if you'll just be consistent, you'll win at this game. Like you will. Did you see that? I did.
Never works for me.
I know. And there's like all these signals you can do. What 2 thumbs up does something. Oh, see?
Yeah.
Is he gonna do it for you?
Yeah.
But anyway, if you'll just be consistent, you'll win. Like consistency breeds legitimacy. Doesn't matter about the quality, doesn't matter about your face, doesn't matter about all that stuff. All of that stuff can come and you can like get 1% better every time. But yeah, so someone asked what if their subject is seasonal, and I would say still be consistent in your off season. There are things you can share and tips and tricks and all the things in your off season, and then that makes your on season way easier because you're not having to share all the tips and tricks. You can just share the sale, you know?
100%. And from a media point of view, like you getting ready for the season and you getting ready for down season, like your clients want to know what you're doing off season.
Yeah.
Right? They're here from their lives just because you've disappeared from their social media. So that
totally
on consistency. Just like pitching, if you don't pitch, you're not going to get on media. You got to.
Yes. So my kids, you'll appreciate this. My boys are both big sports ball players, you know, all the things. And we generally use a basketball metaphor, but like you miss 100% of the shots you don't take. You cannot win if you don't shoot the ball. And so if you're not out here doing the content and putting the things out and like all of the things, you're not going to get to your goals because somebody else is doing that. And you're over here like sitting on the sideline being afraid to shoot.
100%.
Like one of my kids is.
100%. Not going to get anywhere. So thank you from Jessica, our motivational speaker. I appreciate you being here today.
You're welcome.
Thank you so much, Jess. I love you. I love speaking to you. I love hanging out with you. And we've had a great comments today. I appreciate it. Thank you for being on Behind the Spotlight. Remember to follow Jessica. All her information will be in the caption, and to go to my link in bio for your 5 subject line formulas. They're going to get you booked on the next podcast. I appreciate you so much, and I'll talk to you soon. Happy birthday, my friend.
You too. And thank you for having me.
Of course, talk to you soon.